Why, hello there! Today I want to talk about how to build a strong or better relationship as an assistant language teacher with your Japanese teachers of English. I'm going to be coming at this mainly, probably all from an ALT's perspective, because that's what I am. However, I have talked to quite a few of my JTEs about this and what they think and how they would like to be approached by ALTs. So, of course, some of their opinions will be in here as well, because that's the reason I asked them to talk to me about it. So, your relationship with your JTEs is going to really affect your time in Japan, how much you enjoy your job, and even how much you enjoy just your life here in general. It's going to be really important to try as best as you can to have a good relationship with as many JTEs as possible, and the ones who you just can't quite have a great relationship with, you at least need to be able to have a working relationship with. So today I'm going to talk about a few ways that you can help to strengthen those relationships with your JTEs, and also how to have a working relationship with the JTEs that you maybe don't get along with quite as well. Let's get into it. The first thing is kind of a frame to base all of your interactions with your JTEs on. So, Japanese teachers, and especially homeroom teachers, are incredibly busy. They have a lot on their plate, and most of the time they're really overworked. This means that, unfortunately, some things are going to fall through the cracks. Sometimes they might not have time to talk to you in a school day, or sometimes they might forget something that you've told them or asked them to do, and within reason, you're going to have to just accept that. They have a lot to do, and when you're adding to that, you really need to respect that sometimes you might need to remind them, or sometimes you might need to make some extra time or move your schedule around so that you can meet with them at a time that's convenient for them, because really, they just have so much going on. I can't even imagine being that busy, and you're going to need to compromise a little bit for that. So before getting super frustrated with your JTEs for not making time for you or forgetting things that you've said, just remember how much they have going on and try to cut them a bit of slack in terms of helping you out. So yeah, that's a frame to kind of reference during all of your issues, or hopefully not conflicts, but like any issues that you might be having with your JTEs. Just try to come back to this frame of reference and remember to respect how much work they're currently doing and try to make it a bit easier for them. Kind of building off that last point, your JTEs are likely to have much more teaching experience than you. And even if you do have teaching experience, you don't have teaching experience like they do in Japan and in Japanese culture. Ultimately, you are an assistant language teacher and they are the teacher of English, and that's a dynamic that you need to remember. I think when there are teaching style differences, it can be difficult to navigate for an ALT who doesn't agree with the JTE's teaching style. But what I think it's important to bear in mind is that it's their classroom, it's their class, and ultimately we should be trying to help them achieve their goals for the class, not necessarily our own goals. That can be something that's really hard to accept, especially if you're someone who is kind of goal oriented and sort of used to having your own goals. But I think it's important to reframe it for yourself as my goals are my JTE's goals, and we will try to reach those together, kind of thing. I hope that makes sense. Another thing that goes along with this is if you do want to talk about teaching style differences, I think that there are good ways to approach it and not so good. So obviously if you come at your JTE and say something like, well, I think the way that you do things is just wrong, and my way is better and here's my way, that's not going to come across so great. I mean, again, they are more experienced than you and obviously they like their way for a reason. However, I think if you approach them with something like a specific lesson plan that kind of is more in line with your teaching style than theirs, and explain to them why you think it will be beneficial for the students, often they'll be a lot more receptive to that kind of thing. Of course, some JTEs won't be receptive to this at all, and I mean, you're going to have to make that judgment call for yourself. Sometimes it's just not worth even having those conversations, unfortunately. But if you think that you want to have a conversation like that, come at it from a place of wanting to help the students and give specific examples of activities or lesson plans that you would use to use your teaching style to help the students. This way I've had a lot of really good success, and a lot of my JTEs have agreed to try out something that I wanted to do that they were a bit iffy about. So we established earlier that your JTEs are likely to be very busy people. There are a few ways that you can help to combat this in terms of getting feedback on your lessons, giving lesson plans, and just communicating with your JTEs in general. The first is, of course, try to get their line or telephone numbers so that you can contact them outside of school and or like work hours, and they can reply to you at their own leisure when they have the free time to do so. Often teachers will be out of the staff room all day, or they'll just be with people in meetings all day, and you won't have a chance to catch your JTE before you have to leave for the day. So it's important that you make it as easy as possible for the two of you to communicate effectively. Another really good way to do this is post-it notes. I'm not sure if everyone thinks this, but I feel like in my culture, leaving a note instead of talking to someone face-to-face can come off as kind of passive-aggressive. But in Japanese staff rooms, that has definitely not been the case from what I've seen. A lot of people will use post-it notes and just leave a little note on someone's desk saying either what they wanted to say or saying, I would like to talk to you, can you please come and find me later, I'll be here. So that's a really great way to do it. Again, it's giving your JTE the chance to respond in their own time when they have free time. So that's really good. Next, let's talk about lesson feedback. This is something that I've heard a lot of people have issues with, and specifically a lot of people have told me that they have problems with not being able to get direct feedback about their lessons. So my only advice for this is ask direct questions and you will get direct answers most likely. So I try to use the time when me and my JTE are walking to and from lessons, because that's a time when you'll have them all to yourself most likely, and I ask, how do you think that lesson went? If they give a vague answer, or if you know they're the type to give a vague answer, then try something more like this, where you say something really specific that you thought went well or badly about the lesson, and then they can build off that. I find that once you open the door to proper communication, your JTEs will be much more likely to join you in that conversation. I think a lot of people are worried about giving criticism because they think that it might be harsh or rude. But once you open up that gate and you say, oh, I think that maybe I should have given them a little more time for this activity, often they will join in and say, yeah, next time maybe we should just give them more time. So I think it's important to let your JTE know that you're serious about having these conversations. Ask them specific questions, mention specific things that you noticed, and let them build on that. As I mentioned, using the time walking to and from classes is perfect for this. Usually you can get like a lot out of the way in a 5-minute conversation and it doesn't take up any of your JTE's time. So yeah, that's a great way to get some good feedback on your lessons. You will likely be working with a lot of JTEs each year. I personally work with 7 each year, and I know many ALTs work with many more than that. This means that you'll have a different relationship with each JTE, and it's important to recognize what types of relationships those are. Usually you'll go one of two ways. Either you'll have a pretty good relationship where you can be like friends with each other and just talk about things, and that's great. Those are ideal, those are fantastic. But sometimes you'll get JTEs that you just struggle to get along with. And in this case, I recommend not trying to force friendship, obviously, because if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But you do need to have a working relationship with these people. That means that you're going to have to kind of swallow a bit of pride, compromise a little bit, and just work with them the way that they want to be worked with, and just enjoy the good, not good JTEs, but enjoy the JTEs that you get along with, and just try to keep civil and keep a decent working relationship with the others. One thing that I would recommend for this is to take notes. This sounds a bit weird, I think, but for me, I take notes about each different class that I take in a little notebook. I take notes on the attitude of the class, the kind of feel of the class, and I do the same for JTEs, not about their attitude, but about things that they like and don't like. So if a certain JTE wants to always have my lesson plans 2 weeks in advance, I make sure that I have a note about that in my notebook, and I can always get that done for them. I think this is really helpful because, again, you'll be working with a lot of different people, and it's really important to try and do your best to get to know them and get to know how they like to operate. It just helps things run smoothly, and as I've mentioned a lot of times, your JTEs are very busy, so the more that you can do to make your lessons run smoothly, the better it is going to be for everyone. Finally, don't be afraid to ask your JTEs for help, especially the ones you're more friendly with. Your JTEs and you will both benefit from you getting the help that you need, whether that's help with planning lessons, whether that's help with feedback on how you're doing so far, whether that's help translating an announcement that went around the school, whatever it is, you'll both benefit from you understanding these things properly and things running more smoothly for you. So don't be afraid to ask for help. I think the most important thing about asking for help is to do so in a way that allows your JTE to schedule it on their own time. So, for example, send a line message or leave a post-it, as we talked about before, saying that you'd really like to schedule a meeting with them sometime later in the week, and then they can get back to you when is a good time for them. Okay, that is about it for getting along with JTEs. I really hope this video has been helpful. I feel like there's so much to talk about in this topic, and I tried to cover each bit like a little bit. If you'd like me to go into any more depth on any of these topics, or if you have any other questions about getting along with JTEs or the workplace in general, please feel free to ask them down below. I will do my best to answer them. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye.